So what's with all this junk? You building something?
Patience, Danny. Rule number 8. A guerrilla knows how to wait. Like a spider or a serial killer.
Michael Huber.
Yo, Ben Moore.
I got to play 5 hours, roughly, of Far Cry 6. So it was a lot.
Damn.
Yeah, I got to play a lot of Far Cry 6.
Did not know you played it.
And you and I have talked quite a bit in the past about Far Cry 5 and our mixed feelings on that game. There's so much I love about Far Cry, and so I think it makes the frustrations that much more apparent, you know? Mm-hmm. I should say that the way that I played this was over Parsec, so I was streaming it, and so just visually and in terms of just stutter and things like that definitely impacted it, and so it's not it wasn't the most ideal situation, but trying to make do with what we can. But the audience should know that going in. Just as I described, I am very mixed on this game.
Okay.
So let's get the good out of the way.
Yeah, let's hit it.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
It is that Far Cry chaotic sandbox that if you've experienced before and you've enjoyed that, you'll love it here. And they do things, I think, to enhance that. And something that I appreciate, I felt like I was kind of into the thick of things immediately.
Nice.
Wasn't a lot of build-up. I felt like very quickly it was like, you're getting me into the world. I can mess around. I have so many tools. And so I really appreciated that. And I think you see it a lot in the trailer, but you get kind of these you get this equipment that kind of serves as an ultimate. And so the first one that you get is this rocket launcher on your back.
Doom.
Yeah, it's insane. When you shoot it out, it's just it's tons of explosions in front of you. And this is on top of, going into a base and you trigger the alarms, enemies are rushing at you. You have this pet alligator that's you're sending to chomp on people. And so it really thrives, I think, under that chaos and under that fun.
Sweet.
And I think it's enough of a sandbox that there's some unpredictability there that is really, really, really cool.
Cool, yeah, because with I'm gonna talk about the most recent one I played, which would be 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was chaos, but it felt very controlled and muted. It was a lot of cover shooting, it was a lot of just going in and rushing up to people and popping them. I didn't get that bombastic chaos.
Interesting, because
of things that are just blowing up everywhere.
One of my biggest problems with 5 is that the chaos was so bombastic that you couldn't go to an objective marker without
helicopters.
Dude. Helicopters coming after you, animals attacking you. It was just it was constant between every single thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it didn't, obviously it's the beginning of the game, and so I don't know how crazy it will get, but it didn't feel as overwhelming as I remember 5 being, which is nice. And I think in terms of characters, I think the characters here that you're really working closely with fit a little bit better than Far Cry 5. Not that Far Cry 5 doesn't have goofiness or levity, it certainly does, but I think it was self-serious in a way that felt very forced, and it felt preachy, and just the villains were not very likable, whereas here, obviously the main villain, you've seen him before, you love him, has a very strong presence. But I think what stood out to me even more is that the people that you're working with, the first guy that one of the first people that you run into is the guy that gives you the rocket launcher that makes it.
Nice.
And he's just this surly alcoholic who's seen a lot of shit and doesn't take shit from anybody and is a potty mouth. And he just has a great, I won't spoil what happens, but he has a very great opening scene where it's you are fun to be around. You're fun to watch interact.
That is essential, Ben.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely. And I think along with that, and it's something I've kind of said leading up to it, where it's I really like that change, and it does end up panning out, I think, is the fact that in cutscenes and in towns and stuff, you see your character. And not that the lead character hasn't had any personality before in Far Cry, but I feel Danny, whether you choose to play as a male or female, just seeing them emote or get upset or argue with somebody and being able to see their face, I think just makes a lot of the story scenes more engaging rather than just that first-person perspective, watching somebody blather on. It just feels more interactive and engaging, I would say.
Yeah, the silent protagonist, it can be used to good effect in some places, like I think it's Zelda or something.
Yeah.
But like when it's a realistic world, and people are just talking to
Well, when you're
nothing,
being like drug into a war, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So I think with just a voice protagonist, like opens up endless possibilities for more emotion.
Yeah, and Far Cry protagonist before I've had voices, but the point still stands that I think there's like more personality and character here with Danny. The other thing is about the last hour or so with Far Cry 6, we did co-op. And going back to my earlier point, right, if you have a buddy to play this with and you just kind of want to like have fun and like laugh with each other, again, that sandbox is perfect for it, right?
Yeah.
And so like I was with this person, I never met them before, and like even the act of like us trying to go and get a helicopter where it's like, oh wait, are you gonna drive? Okay. Oh, you crashed into something. Oh, we're going down. Jump out, parachute, wingsuit away. The final mission that we did, we were on this boat and we were trying to coordinate with each other where it's like, okay, I went to this inn, I stealthed these people. And so like all of that stuff I think works really well, and it is a formula that like is proven, right?
Yeah.
And so all that stuff is great. Where the other side of the
Before you get to the bad, I would
Yeah.
love to play as the alligator.
yeah,
If like in co-op, if you could
Yeah.
be the like animal, I know the bear was in 5, like that would be such a cool co-op element if they added that,
Yeah.
or maybe like DLC downline or
I
something.
mean, yeah, you being the bear is like it's the most beautiful, appropriate thing ever.
so fun.
Definitely. I think the other side of it, the negative, is just that it's familiar to a fault. Where like I
think that's why 5
Yeah.
felt not chaotic to me, because it just kind of felt
it felt like you.
yeah.
Yeah, but boy, that experience here is like. I think a perfect way to describe it is I did a mission where you go and you end up having to burn these tobacco fields, and the character is like, this feels oddly familiar. And it's like, yeah, because you've burned fields in Far Cry before. Like it's just like, really? Like, again? It's just like so on the nose. And, for as much, like, no doubt I had a good time playing this game. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people will. But it just feels like a slightly different version of the same thing. It doesn't really feel like a step forward in the way that you would hope in terms of gameplay. And there were so many moments, like I mentioned that mission, and there was another time where there were 2 guards and they were escorting a prisoner, right? And so they had a line. It was 3 people. And I just went up behind the guy in the back.
Yep.
I stealth killed him.
Classic Ubisoft.
No one reacted. It was right there. I'm stabbing him in the throat. He's gurgling. These people are inches away and they just keep walking. And then I just go up to the guy in the front and do the same thing. Or like I'm in a base and, I trigger the alarm and I just go into this room and then I watch the people like not figure out like how a door properly works. And it's like, well, this is super easy. And of course, in any open world sandbox game, you're going to have some AI and some jankiness. That is expected. I think the more free form you get, the more, kind of slack you have to give with jankiness. It's just, I feel like I've seen this exact same type of issue for years and years and years and years in this, exact series or games that are similar to it, that I think that was disappointing. It's just like, this kind of feels like it's just another notch in the belt for Far Cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for it not to feel like that with franchises, because
Yeah.
Far Cry, I feel like they really only change the cast and the setting. It's the same gameplay. So you're talking about the objectives and kind of burning the fields and doing the same things over and over.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes when I'm playing games, it does feel like we've run out of objectives to do. So
Right.
then I like there needs to be better ways to like integrate the story into the objectives or something, maybe with Far Cry. Like, let me get invested in the actual act of burning that tobacco.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm thinking on it on that level, if I'm like, oh my God, we really need to burn this, then I guess the derivativeness of the objectives wouldn't bother me as much. But
Yeah.
Far Cry 5 story is one of my least favorite in all of games.
Well-
so I don't know if, if 6 will.
Far Cry
Either.
5 story definitely pissed me off
Yeah.
in terms of just like, it was just up its own ass in all the wrong ways. And to be fair, I didn't get that sense in Far Cry 6. All of the grating annoyingness that was present for me in Far Cry 5 in terms of storytelling wasn't there in Far Cry 6. I was more interested in what was going on, both in terms of the villain and his son, as well as the kind of resistance group. And because another thing that I really liked about the resistance group is you kind of join this one side who wants to do things another way, then you meet another resistance group, and there's conflicts between them where it's like, we both want to go against this regime, but we feel about it two different ways, and you work for both of them, and you kind of see both of their perspectives.
Nice.
And so there are some layers there. I wouldn't say it's profound by any means, but it was like, I am interested in this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good sign, man.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. It definitely is a good sign. It's just like, I remember playing Far Cry 3 for the first time and being like, wow, like this really feels like it was just like so gorgeous, and the way that it told its story, it was so trippy and cool. And it really felt fresh, and I think I've just been kind of waiting for Far Cry to make me feel that again. And I feel like every time I dip into Far Cry, I have a good time, but I'm just not blown away.
Absolutely.
Anymore,
because the difference between Far Cry 1, 2, 3, and Blood Dragon is pretty significant.
Oh, yeah.
Those are very different games.
Yeah.
And then, we have 4, Primal, 5, New Dawn I forgot about until a minute ago when I was remembering it. And, like, those all feel so similar. Even Primal, which is, like, 10,000 years ago, should feel like a dramatically different game, and they just end up feeling like reskins.
Yeah, so after playing Far Cry 6, I installed Far Cry 4, which I don't think I played, like, any of back when it came out. And I was like, this is not that different from Far Cry 6. Like, right. Like,
Wow.
And that was really the test, right? Is this game came out years and years and years ago, and it doesn't feel that different in terms of what you're doing or how smart the enemies are, or, it's tough because I don't want to come down on it too hard with people, because I do think a lot of people are going to get this game and going to enjoy this game because there is a lot of good to praise there. And I'm still excited to play it.
Yeah.
It's definitely something where I could see myself like booting it up with a buddy and us just like laughing. You know? It does have that quality to it, but
you're just a little frustrated that they continue to play it safe.
There is untapped potential there, and like, I don't know what it is. I haven't cracked the code, but like you see it where you're like, I know you guys have this in you to push it farther than you currently are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because like Assassin's Creed, they are similar a lot of the times. Obviously, the new trilogy is like pretty departed, but the ongoing story kind of like hooks me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Far Cry, it's like new story each time. All right, refresh. Oh, this kind of feels like the same,
Yeah.
So there is that, like, I'm not as invested because it does feel so similar.
Yeah, definitely mixed feelings, but I do think I think to wrap this up, that Far Cry games, they are very large, and I think especially with the story and that being important, and the villains and all that stuff, like, because I've seen like the first chunk of the game, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe a lot of my complaints will be resolved, when I'm 30 hours in as opposed to 5 hours in.
Did you get to see the map?
Yeah.
How many icons are we talking here?
I
remember?
I can't really recall off the top of my head.
Yeah.
No, but it wasn't like I don't remember having the like, oh my god. Reaction.
Okay, good.
So
Yeah. And last question I had was Danny. Like the trailers, you kind of talked a little bit about her, but the trailers, I was like, I'm kind of attached to this person.
Yeah.
Did she hook you? Are you invested in her?
Yeah, definitely. To kind of reiterate what I was saying at the beginning is like, she doesn't really want to be mixed up with this, and she kind of
reluctant.
She reluctantly goes into, because you can pick a male or female Danny. I picked a female Danny, and it's cool because she's somebody that has a history, and she talks about that history. She's not this like fish out of water protagonist. Yeah. She knows how to shoot a gun. She knows how to handle herself, and so it's kind of cool where it's like, even though she doesn't want to do this, when she does get involved in these situations, it's like, no, she can handle herself, and she proves that, and she conducts herself in that way. And so, like I would say more so than other Far Cry protagonists, where it's like they kind of become superhuman immediately.
Yeah.
The things Danny are doing, I think makes sense for her character and makes sense for her history, and she pushes back against the people that are giving her missions. Right? It's not just like she's this like quest receptacle where it's like, yes sir, I'll go do that errand. You know, she will talk back. She'll question. She'll really like push against people and have kind of some friction there. And so, again, I don't think like any of this stuff is like super profound.
Yeah.
But I do think it makes it more interesting than some Far Cry stuff that I've seen in the past.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting me excited for the story. I didn't expect this, Ben.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to oversell it again because
of
it's like I
course.
don't know the ups and downs.
It's
that it
still
will
Far
take,
Cry.
but yeah. But I want to figure out what's going to happen. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for sitting down with me, Huber, and we'll see how the rest of the game pans out.
Yeah, we will.
Here comes trouble. My name is Raisa, and I'm going to be helping you steal shit from Castillo today.
Are you going to tell me what I'm stealing?
Depleted uranium.
Perdón, I thought you just said uranium.
You heard me. Look, all I know is I burned my last contact in the army tracking it down for Juan.
You ex-military?
Isn't everybody?
Okay. Just show me where it is.